I'm Jack Sepulveda.
And I'm Nancy McNamara.
Welcome to the Honey Locust Farmhouse,
where we grow culinary and medicinal plants for health and well-being.
Today's presentation is all about eating veggies. More veggies than you thought you can eat.
I'll be introducing 2 recipes to show you today in the kitchen. One is for Silvetta arugula pesto, and the other is for ginger garlic carrots. And a third recipe that we won't demonstrate but will include in our repertoire. You can download the recipe later if you like.
I feel hungry already, but before that, we need to harvest some of these vegetables that we'll be using in our recipes.
So let's go harvest. Let's go to the greenhouse and we'll harvest those vegetables for you. And welcome to my greenhouse, where I have a number of wonderful plants growing, which I use every day to feed the crew here at the Honey Locust Farmhouse. So come on in. I'll show you the 3 things that we will be using today in our demonstrations. And here we have our lovely Silvetta arugula. Silvetta arugula is a wild style of arugula that the Italians use in their cuisine very much because they love the pungency and the bitterness, a tiny bit of bitterness that it has. Those things translate into health for people who ingest this particular plant. We've moved on now to our patch of carrots that we planted last February, I believe. Let's see what the stick says here. We planted them on the 11th of February. So they are ready to go now. They took a long time, especially in the early spring. But now we'll harvest them and we'll do a stir fry with our lovely sweet carrots. We haven't picked our asparagus yet, but to round out the flavor profile for our soup, we will be using a little bit of lovage. This is a lovage. It has a sort of a celery-like, but it's much more pungent and it combines very well with asparagus, remarkably so. And so this is our royal purple asparagus. It is very sweet and tender, even though the stalks are quite large. This field of asparagus was planted about 20 years ago in order to feed the culinary needs of the white tablecloth restaurants in Manhattan. So it's we'll pick this. We're probably picking our last of the season at this point in time. It starts sometime at the end of April and it goes through mid-June, and then we let it rest and go to seed. Well, here we are in my kitchen. We left the greenhouse and entered my kitchen where I'm set up to make for you arugula pesto. So we have the wild Silvetta arugula. We have about 4 cups and you need to pack it down. We have our sea salt, a ½ teaspoon. We have 2 cloves of garlic. Next we have 1/4 cup of pine nuts and olive oil. This is special olive oil from Greece, and we like it because it's very pure and authentic. Then we have our breadcrumbs here and our wine, and we are going to make a nice paste with the breadcrumbs and the wine to add body and smoothness to the pesto. So when we get all finished with making the paste, then we'll add the cheeses. We'll have a Romano oil and a little Parmesan cheese to go in and make it really yummy. Okay, and then we have here some pesto that has been made earlier and frozen. So this is to show you that you can portion out these. This recipe makes several cups, so about 3 cups. So you could make 3 portions, and each one would do a full pound of pasta. So here we have our wild Sylvetta arugula, and this has been washed and spun to be fairly dry. And then we have our pine nuts, which we are going to toast, our breadcrumbs and wine, which we are going to make a paste. We have our 2 cloves of garlic, sea salt, and perhaps a little olive oil to keep the motor running smooth. And then finally we'll add our cheese toward the end of our production. So while we're waiting for our pasta to cook, we're going to grate the cheeses, we're going to toast the breadcrumbs, and we're going to toast the pine nuts. So that will be all ready to blend things into the pesto at the right time. So we're going to toast these on the comal just very lightly. So we have the pine nuts in the toaster oven. We're going to toast the breadcrumbs on top of the stove, and when they're nice and golden, we're going to add the wine and make a paste. So let me toast these now. The reason why we toast the breadcrumbs and the pine nuts is to add a little depth of flavor to the pesto. While our pasta is cooling, and we've toasted our breadcrumbs and we've toasted our pine nuts, we're ready to combine the breadcrumbs and the white wine to make a paste. So I will put in the breadcrumbs into the pan that we used, or you can do it in any kind of vessel, and I will add the white wine and combine it into a paste. And usually I do this while it's hot and it makes a drier paste, but since I let the breadcrumbs cool, it's making a softer paste, but it will harden up, and we'll let that cool off. So with our motor running, we're going to put in the Sylvetta arugula and the salt and the garlic, and then we're going to add our pine nuts and our breadcrumb paste. I'm putting in the Sylvetta. I have to do it by hand because it's really packed. So I'll put it half in there. Then I'm going to put in the garlic cloves and the sea salt. And we're going to start the motor running. And then we'll put the other half in. Put the rest of the arugula in. It's a lot of arugula in here. Okay, we just added the pine nuts. Next, we're going to add the paste a little at a time. with perhaps a little olive oil and perhaps a little water to make sure that it incorporates nice and smooth into our pesto. I'm going to give it 1 or 2 more spins to make sure that it's all blended in very well. And then we'll add our cheese. So now I'm just going to put the cheese in, and I'm going to blend it by hand, or maybe give it just 1 or 2 pulses on the motor. But basically it's better to blend it in by hand so you get the full flavor of the cheese. We have cooked our pasta and rinsed it in cold water. You cooked it till al dente, rinse it in cold water, and then put it in your pot, your bowl. And then we're going to let it cool down to room temperature before we put our pesto on the noodles. We are ready to combine the pesto that we just made with our cooled noodles. You want them to be at room temperature because you don't want to destroy the freshness of the arugula. For saving, we top each one with a little olive oil just to seal it and keep it from oxidation. In this case, we're going to pour a little olive oil onto the noodles and make them nice and soft and slithery for the pesto to adhere. So here we go, blending our pesto with our noodles. So you're going to blend them well, adding a little bit of olive oil as necessary until you have a nice combined dish. And you can pass more grated cheese if you wish. Now that we've combined our noodles and our pesto, we're ready to have some lunch. So dig in. That's good. Hi, welcome back to the Honey Locust Farmhouse Kitchen. Here's another recipe that can complement your repertoire of vegetables more than you ever thought you could eat, and goes well with the pesto that we made earlier today. So we're going to feature garlic, ginger, garlic, carrots. And we're going to do it in the wok, saute it in the wok. We're going to start out with 1 pound of carrots, which we will peel and slice. And we're going to saute them in 1 tablespoon of peanut oil or any other oil which you could use for high heat. We're going to also coarsely chop 3 tablespoons of garlic, 1 tablespoon of finely chopped fresh ginger root, salt and pepper to taste, and then as a finishing touch, we're going to garnish with our green onions and our cilantro that we grow in the greenhouse, and because it's flowering, it'll give a nice, a beautiful touch. First, before I start cooking, I'm going to prep the garnish. That means I have to peel the ginger. I'm going to have to chop and peel the garlics. I'm going to chiffonade my green onions and my cilantro and have them ready to go at the end. Coarsely chop the garlic. So we don't need it too finely chopped, just coarsely chopping the garlic and getting it ready to put in the pan. Now I'm peeling the ginger, about to give it a good chop. You need to finely chop the ginger because we don't want big hunks of ginger in the saute. We want them to blend into the saute. And so sometimes these gingers are a little knobbly, so you have to make sure that you get the tough skin off, and then we can slice it and dice it very finely. So we need about one tablespoon or so. Actually, I love garlic, but I also love ginger. It's so good for you and so good for your body that we want to add as much as we can to taste. Have to do this very finely. Just keep putting it back together and chopping it out till it's very fine. So now we're ready to cut our carrots. We're going to be slicing them on the diagonal so we get nice, even, beautiful ovals like this. So down to the last carrot. And then we'll be ready to fire up the wok. Alrighty then,
Action.
So now we're ready to start cooking. So we want to heat our wok, and then we are going to add the oil, a tablespoon or so of oil, and it should be nice and hot. So when it's hot, you can tell it's going to ripple slightly. You're going to add the garlic and the ginger. And you're going to fry it for about 20 seconds. After 20 seconds, you can add the salt and pepper. And then we're going to add the carrots. And you're going to stir fry the carrots for about 2 minutes. Letting them get nice and golden brown. After 2 minutes, we're going to add a little bit of water. And we're going to continue frying for about 4 minutes until everything is tender. Okay, so we have fried them until they're about ready. We don't want them to be too crispy, but nor do we want them to be too mushy either. So they need to be just about the right consistency or crispness, doneness. So I think we're there, Jack. So we'll garnish our creation. And some onions and some cilantro.
Salt.
Oh, this smells great. Voila! Here's our carrots, glazed with ginger and garlic. And this could be served either hot or cold. I think I'd like it as a salad. And we'll add a few more cilantro flowers, and voila.